He was just a janitor, mopping floors to provide for his little girl. But one night, the most powerful CEO in the city fell to his knees and begged him for help. Smell of bleach and floor polish hung in the air as Daniel Carter pushed his mop across the marble lobby of Crestview Towers. The building glittered with wealth, sleek offices, glass walls, executives in $1,000 suits. But for Daniel, it was just another night of scraping gum off the floor and emptying trash bins. He didn't mind the work, it was honest, it paid the bills barely. What mattered most to him was his daughter, Lily. At 8 years old, she was his entire world. Ever since his wife passed away 2 years earlier, Daniel had carried both roles, mother and father. Every shift, every aching muscle, every penny saved, it was all for her. Still, some nights weighed heavier than others, nights when he wondered if life would ever give him a break, nights when he prayed quietly that something, anything, would change. He didn't know it yet, but that night was the one. It was close to midnight when the glass doors of the lobby swung open. A man in a sharp suit stumbled inside, his tie loosened, his face pale with panic. Daniel recognized him instantly, Richard Hale, CEO of Crestview Industries, one of the most powerful men in the city. To Daniel, he was untouchable, but right now Richard looked anything but. His hands trembled as he paced the floor, eyes darting as if searching for something he couldn't find. "Sir," Daniel asked cautiously, setting the mop aside, "are you okay?" Richard froze, his gaze landed on Daniel, and for a moment pride flickered across his face, like he didn't want to admit weakness. But then his shoulders slumped. "I need help," Richard whispered, his voice breaking. "Please, I don't know who else to turn to." Daniel blinked, the CEO of a billion-dollar company, asking me for help. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked gently. Richard rubbed his temples. "My driver left hours ago, my phone died, and my son," he choked on the word. "He's upstairs in my office. He's been having one of his episodes, anxiety, panic. I usually know how to calm him, but tonight nothing's working. I can't leave him, but I don't know what to do anymore." Daniel's heart tugged. He knew that helplessness too well, the ache of wanting to ease your child's pain and not knowing how. "Bring me to him," Daniel said without hesitation. When they entered the executive office, Daniel saw a boy curled in the corner, knees pulled to his chest. He looked about Lily's age, though his designer clothes and expensive sneakers painted a different world than hers. "Evan," Richard said softly, kneeling beside him. "It's okay, son, this is Daniel, he works here, he's going to help." The boy barely lifted his head, his breathing came in ragged gasps. Daniel crouched slowly, remembering the nights Lily would wake up crying after her mother's death, struggling to breathe through her sobs. Back then, Daniel didn't know what to do either, until he learned the power of something simple. "Hey, buddy," Daniel said gently, "you ever played a balloon game?" Evan's tear-streaked face peeked out. Confused, he shook his head. "Okay," Daniel smiled. "Here, how it goes, you pretend your belly is a balloon, you take a deep breath in, fill it up nice and slow, then you let it out like you're blowing the biggest balloon in the world." He demonstrated, puffing his cheeks out until Evan gave a tiny, shaky laugh. "Wanna try with me?" Daniel asked. The boy hesitated, then nodded. Together they breathed in and out, once, twice. Again, slowly Evan's breath steadied, his shoulders relaxed, his small fingers unclenched. Richard watched, stunned. He had hired the best doctors, therapists, and specialists money could buy. Yet here, a janitor with calloused hands and a weary smile had given his son something no expert had: calm. Over the next half hour, Daniel sat with Evan, talking about simple things, cartoons, soccer, favorite ice cream flavors. The boy opened up little by little, his laughter soft but real. Finally, Evan leaned against his father's arm, yawning. "Looks like someone's ready for bed," Daniel said quietly. Richard brushed his son's hair back, emotion swelling in his eyes. When he looked at Daniel, his voice trembled. "I don't know how to thank you. You did in minutes what I couldn't do all night." Daniel smiled faintly. "You don't need to thank me. I'm a dad too. I know what it's like to feel helpless." Something unspoken passed between them, two fathers from two very different worlds bound by the same love. The next morning, Daniel returned to work expecting nothing more. But as he entered the building, whispers followed him. Secretaries glanced his way, then a voice called from the lobby. "Mr. Carter." Daniel turned. Richard Hale was waiting, dressed sharply again, but his expression was softer, humbler. "Please walk with me," the CEO said. They rode the elevator in silence until Richard spoke. "Last night you didn't just help my son, you reminded me what matters. I've been so consumed by business, by success, that I forgot my boy doesn't need a perfect CEO, he needs a father." Daniel nodded quietly. Richard stopped and faced him. "Daniel, what's your story? Why are you here mopping floors at midnight when you clearly have more to offer?" For the first time, Daniel told someone the truth, the struggles after his wife's passing, the endless bills, the fight to keep Lily's smile alive. He didn't complain, he simply shared. When he finished, Richard's eyes glistened. "Daniel," he said firmly, "you don't belong on a mop, you belong where your heart can make a difference. I want you on my team not as janitor but as family liaison for the company. We need people like you, people who understand compassion. I'll make sure you have a salary that gives your daughter the life she deserves." Daniel's mouth fell open. I don't know what to say. "Say yes," Richard smiled, "because this isn't charity, it's recognition. You changed everything for me, for Evan, let me do the same for you." Months later, Daniel sat in a sunlit office, his office sorting through plans for community programs supporting employees' families. Lily sat in the corner drawing happily, her laughter filling the room. Evan often visited too, with a soccer ball tucked under his arm, no longer weighed down by fear. The two kids had become fast friends. And Richard, he was no longer just the CEO. He was a present father, sometimes even kicking off his shoes to join the kids on the field, business forgotten for a while. One evening, as they all shared pizza in the office lounge, Richard raised his glass. "To Daniel," he said, his voice thick with gratitude, "the man who reminded me that no amount of power or money matters more than love. You didn't just help my son, you helped me become the father he deserves." Daniel shook his head, smiling. "I just did what any dad would do." But deep down, he knew the truth. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion could open the door to a completely different life, not just for one person but for everyone it touched. And so, the janitor who once swept floors became the man who helped rebuild hearts. Not because of wealth or power, but because he chose kindness, and that changed everything.